Hello, everyone, and welcome to another week with the Passion Project. I'm already stumbling over my words. Anyway, today we have Kathy McLean, all the way from Tucson, Tucson. Sorry, I did it again. So I'd love to welcome Kathy. Hi, Kathy. How are you going?
I'm good. How are you, Jess?
Very, very well, thank you. So how's the weather over there? It must be warming up now that summer's coming.
Yeah, first I'd like to say thank you for having me on this show, and I'm really excited to talk to you.
You're very
And the
welcome.
weather here in Tucson is great. It's nice and hot. We're in the desert, and the heat is really starting to rise. So it's
Yeah,
wonderful.
that's good. I'm almost jealous this time of year when I speak to people from, over the other side of the world, because we're going into winter and, I try and love all the seasons, but summer's my favorite.
Well, you should come visit Tucson because even our winters aren't bad. Because I came from Philadelphia, and those were some pretty intense winters. But here, it's like a little cool air, and that's winter. So
Nice.
the sun is amazing.
No snow. I'm personally not a fan of snow. I don't think I could live in snow.
Yeah, you get used to it.
I bet you would. So do you want to tell us a little bit about your passion? What's your passion that makes your heart sing?
My passion is photography. Photography is kind of the lifeblood that flows in me. Everything I do in my life has some sort of connection with photography, and it has guided me ever since I was a small child through my life. It's been my guiding force.
Yeah, so you're one of the lucky ones. I'll say one of the lucky ones because you found out you, in a really cool way, discovered what your passion was from a really, really young age. Did you want to tell us a little bit about that?
Sure, yeah. So when I was in the sixth grade, my teacher was a photographer. And and it was during the time when we had film cameras. So film cameras had these little canisters of film, and whenever we would get answers correct or we would do something good in class, he would like toss us these film canisters, and they just they sparked this huge interest in me. I thought that they were the greatest thing I'd ever seen in my life. And those canisters, I tried to do, I would try to do as good as I could so I could collect as many as I possibly could. And then I learned what these canisters were for. I learned that they were for film, and then I learned film was, part of photography. And then I just started to go down this rabbit hole of learning about photography. I started looking at pictures. My parents would get magazines like Life magazine and National Geographic, which were amazing. And I would just start looking at all these pictures, and I was associating it with these film canisters. And then my teacher would also talk about photography, and it just exploded from there. My parents were watching this interest, and so they got me a camera for my birthday, and it was a 35 millimeter film camera, and that was the start. Once I picked it up, I never put the camera down.
That's fantastic. And I think you're so blessed because, as I said, you found it early. And not only that, your parents could recognize that in you and also nurture that in you as well. So, in a sense, I would guess that it kind of made your path of following your passion and what brings you life quite easy.
Yeah, it is. I feel very, very fortunate because my parents and my sister, they all supported me with my passion. I mean, every year for birthdays and Christmas, my family would get me photography equipment, different types of camera equipment. I get a lens or a flash. And they would put up with me taking pictures of everything. And even during times where, I was a small child and my sister was a teenager, she, let me take pictures when at least opportune moments when her hair was all over the place and I'm still alive. So, she was very supportive of that. But but no, they were incredible, and my family has supported me with my passion my entire life. I mean, they still do. I'm pretty sure they're watching right now. So
Oh, that's fantastic. Hello, Kathy's family. And that's great. So I think that's an important thing to talk about because, if we have any parents watching, all children, I believe, we all do. If we want to find our passion, you go back to your childhood and see what you're interested in, because that usually has something to do with what your passion is, and therefore, the path that you can follow that's going to govern your life. So if your kids are interested in stuff, do it, because Kathy's amazing. So, follow that passion with them.
Thank you.
And,
Yeah, I'm very lucky.
and so then you ended up studying, but not, so you didn't get paid to do your passion straight away. Yeah, you can tell us a little bit about that. I don't want to tell you.
Yeah, so I did self-study when I was in, like elementary, junior high, high school. And I would just take pictures of everything I could possibly take pictures of. And when I got to college, I started taking photography classes, and at that time it was analog photography, so it was film. And the classes were amazing. And I had this one professor that he taught me so much, and he was really incredible, but he pushed me so hard. And anytime I did an assignment where I didn't really give it my all, he would literally like throw the print across the room. Yeah, and photography prints, especially like fiber prints, they can really fly like a frisbee. um but I took all the classes that my school offered, and it was amazing because we learned how to process our own black and white film. We learned how to print our own film. It was an incredible environment because I was surrounded by other students, other photographers, and it was a dark room that had a lot of enlargers in it. So we were able to we were a community, and we were able to communicate with each other and like help each other as we're printing pictures. I would have my fellow photographers look and see, hey, oh, I see you're missing that spot there. Why don't you try this technique or something? And it was a really supportive environment. And what I ended up doing is I ended up taking every single class that they offered. And I reached a point where the professor, he would give us an opportunity to either, so we could continue to use the dark room. He would let us either sign up for the class and duplicate the grade, or we could take the class again and just, go through it again. So I was going to duplicate my grade, just so I could use the dark room. And he sat me down and he's like, so I've got a challenge for you. I was like, oh, great. Okay, what's up? And he asked me if I would be interested in going through the entire, all the classes again using a 4x5 camera. And it was one of the biggest challenges photographically I've ever done, because I don't know if you've ever seen a 4x5 camera, but it's like this box, and it's literally, the film is 4 inches by 5 inches, and you have to put a cloth over your head. And I had to have a dolly to carry all the equipment everywhere I went. And it was truly a remarkable experience because it made me slow down and think about every aspect of taking the photograph. It made me look at every shadow. It made me calculate my exposures, and it taught me patience. And it also taught me how to see things in a different way, in a way that I had never experienced before.
Yeah.
And that really shaped me as a photographer. Like, that was really a huge foundational moment for me, because learning how to see in this way through the 4x5 lens, it just brought photography to a whole new level that I carried with me moving forward.
That's fantastic. So
Yeah.
would you say up until that point, you knew you had this thing that you loved, and without any attachment as to what it was going to turn into, you just followed what you loved and you did what felt good? Yeah.
Yeah, I absolutely did.
And then
And
everything was provided. Like, it seems like everything was provided. So, a teacher to make you even better and to go deeper into your passion. And yeah, sorry, I'll let you go now.
yeah, no, I was really fortunate because my professor, he I think that he was able to figure out, which students really had this passion and had this yearning, and which students were open to receiving information and to receive the mentorship. Because, there have been plenty of other things in my life that I wasn't open to being mentored on. But with photography, I was wide open to learn as much as I possibly could from whoever was willing to teach me. And I was just really, really fortunate that, my professor was willing to teach me, and he took the time to teach me. And, when I was going through the process with the 4x5, I spent so much time going back and forth. I'd go out, take pictures, come back, process it, print it, go to his office, we'd review it, and then I'd go right back out, take more, come back, process. I mean, I just lived in the dark room. But he took the time and he was willing. So I, again, was very, very fortunate.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
amazing. And
Yeah.
just not having that attachment and following what you love and doing it, and everything was provided for you,
Yeah.
And one day, now you went back to study again when you're a bit older. So you spent a period of time where you didn't turn it into your job, and then you went back to
Yeah.
study, and that's when stuff got really interesting. Yeah.
Yeah. When I was in college, I decided, I tried to work for a photographer. I tried to do it all on my own. And I realized that when I added money to trying to support my passion, I lost my passion.
Yeah.
It sucked the passion out of me for photography. And I realized I couldn't live like that. I couldn't live my life without my passion. And so I decided to not do photography as a career because I loved it too much and I had to have photography in my life. So I ended up deciding that that wasn't a path for me, and I got into building management, which and facilities management, which I absolutely love. Um, and so that's what I was doing, with my career. And I was doing different projects, and I I started doing, I worked on projects when I lived in Dallas. I worked on projects in Philadelphia, and then I ended up going, I'd always talked about wanting to go back to school because in this time period, there was a huge shift in photography from analog to digital.
Yeah.
And so when that happened, I mean, I was lost. Here's my passion. I know how to do analog, but it was getting harder to find places to process and find, all of these resources. And so I one day I finally reached a point where I was like, okay, I'm gonna go digital. It was like this, I felt like, I'm backed against the wall. I don't have a choice. I gotta go digital. And so I got a digital camera and I was so lost. I had no idea what I was doing with it because it was so different from analog.
Yeah.
And so I finally figured out how to just make it work. And I did fine. I was able to do my photography, and I was enjoying the process. But I reached a point where I always talked about wanting to go back to school so I could learn digital, and so I could just kind of catch up with technology. And there was always a reason not to. And it was usually work related or something like that, or something with life. And, there was a moment in my life where, my partner's house, there was a house fire and we were in the house. And it was one of those life changing moments where, um, we're very fortunate to be here. And as I and my in that process, my camera was destroyed. And you as a photographer, or at least for me, I develop a relationship with my camera. It becomes an extension of me. And so when it was destroyed, I was like, I'm kind of lost at this moment. I don't know what to do anymore. And so I thought it was a life changing moment, and I thought, I want to go back to school. I want to do it because you know what? Tomorrow's not promised.
Yeah.
I keep saying, I'll go tomorrow. I'll go, it's always going to be there. And that moment I realized there's no promise to the next day. So if I want to do something, I need to do it now. And so I decided I was going to go back to school. And I did have a moment of um, just like a ridiculous moment, actually, where I was thinking, well, if I'm going to go back to school, maybe I should do it, go back for something that really focuses on my job. And my partner gave me this really funny look and said, "What are you thinking?" And she said, if you're going to go back to school, why don't you go for what you love? There's no reason to go back to school for, what you do for a living because you're already doing it. Go back for what you love. It's photography. You've always wanted to go back for it. Go. And I was like, of course, you're absolutely right. And so I decided to go back to school and I went to the Art Institute, and it was one of the best decisions I've ever made because I when I went back to school, I had no idea what I didn't know. I mean, I thought I knew what I didn't know, but I had no clue. There was a whole world that opened up to me when I went back to school that I didn't know existed.
Yeah. So you had to learn your art, and it transformed your art. Would you say that a little bit? Like,
Oh, it absolutely did. I mean, I think that it taught me to go deeper inside of myself. And it really challenged me to become a better artist. I had when I went back to school, I had one professor. I was taking this portrait class, and there's a lot of discussion in the photographic community about the smartphone technology because I mean anybody with a smartphone can take beautiful pictures, and
yeah,
that's awesome. And I love the fact that photography is more accessible due to technological advances. I think that's amazing. And in school, I had classmates who had negative thoughts about that. And I remember we were having a discussion, and my professor said, was saying that why would you feel negatively about this? It opens up the art of photography to pretty much everybody so they can experience the things you do. And so they can create these images and document the world in a way that has never been done before. And he said, but what it does is it makes you be a better artist.
yeah.
If you are going to be a photographer, this will make you be a better artist because what's going to set you apart? And in that moment, I was like, it just really just, rang something in me and just lit something else in me to push myself artistically in a way that I'd never done before.
That's awesome. And then you led into these other projects. But quickly before then, you ended up with a job change in a really cool way that has actually lined up with your passion, which is your whole story is my favorite. But that's my favorite part because you didn't push for the whole money coming in while I'm doing my passion. It didn't work for you. You already said that. You felt like you're going to lose your passion, but you followed your little heart and you did your thing and you ended up pretty much there anyway.
Yeah, so part of the process of school, I had to do some things, and I was as school, as part of school, I was looking at job descriptions, and I came across this job description, and it was for what I do for a living, buildings, projects, all of this stuff, facilities for a photography center. And so I'm reading this job description, and I'm like, wait, what? This cannot be real. No, this isn't real. And so I sent it over to my partner, and her immediate response back was, "Did they write this for you?" And I was like, "I don't know, but this can't be real." So, I put in my resume and everything, and um it was amazing. And so I was given an opportunity to do what I love to do for a living in a place that is all about my passion. And it was funny because, I was living in Philadelphia at the time. And so I flew out for the interview, and I had shared that. So one of my inspirations as a child was Ansel Adams. Especially like because he was considered one of the masters of the dark room, his technique was just amazing, and I was always fascinated by it. And so I had shared a little bit about that with some of the folks that I was meeting with. And so for the interview, the conservator took me on a tour before, the in-person interview, and she took me up to the archive, and she's like, "Yeah, this is some of Ansel Adams' equipment," and I was like, "Whoa." Like I had this moment of I can't believe that I'm actually standing here and that this is my life. I couldn't believe it, and I thought, well, I just don't ever want to leave. That's it. I'm here. I mean, I don't want to leave here. This is it. And so It was amazing. And so, my partner and I, we were like, and now we're moving to Tucson because it's an opportunity. So I work for the Center for Creative Photography at the University of Arizona, and I had worked for the University of Pennsylvania. So it was really amazing that the center is part of a university system because it's something that I was really familiar with and comfortable with. And the center was founded, one of the co-founders of the center was Ansel Adams. And I was just like, it just seems like a dream come true. And then the whole time I'm like, I'm just waiting to be pinched to wake up from this dream because it just seems too good to be true. And like when I was there for the interview process, I was meeting my future coworkers, and it it was such a loving environment, and you could feel the creativity, from everybody, and everybody was, it felt like home. Like I was there for my interview and I just felt like I was home. And so after the interview, I went back to the hotel and I called my partner. I was like, so how do you feel about moving to Tucson? And she's like, yep, let's do it. And so we ended up deciding to drive across the country so I could work for the Center for Creative Photography. And it's one of the best decisions one of the several best decisions I've ever made. But I feel like, my whole life led me to where I'm at now because everything I learned in my career and all the skill and experience that I gained, and then everything that I have learned and done by following my passion has led me to be a part of this amazing center that celebrates photography, that celebrates the history of photography, and work with incredible people. I just feel I am so fortunate that I get to not only work in a place that I'm surrounded by photography all the time and people who care about photography and care about, photography as it grows, but also I get to talk to photographers all day. Like, I'll sit there, some of my coworkers and we will just start getting into these conversations. And the next thing I know, it's like, 45 minutes or an hour later, we've been talking about photography the whole time. We're like, okay, all right. So it's good talking. All right. We should probably go do something else now.
And I love those moments in life where you're so lost and consumed and at home in what you're doing or who you're connecting with that time just, I don't know, it does its own thing. Leaves you behind,
Yeah.
or you leave it behind, one or the other.
It really does. Yeah. And it's just
sorry, I cut you off.
No, it's just amazing because I get to live surrounded by my passion on a daily basis. And I know it sounds cheesy, but it's 100% true. I don't wake up in the morning and dread going to work. When I wake up in the morning, I'm excited about going to work because I get to go do what I love. And I get to go be around people and work with people who are really amazing to work with because they're also, they're amazing people and they're artists and they're passionate about what they do. And we all get to feed off of each other's energy and support each other. We lift each other up.
Yeah.
And we're surrounded by photography, which is like a dream come true. Sorry, I could just talk about that forever.
No, that's a great story. And that's my so one of the reasons why I do this is because I'm so convinced, and I have been ever since I was little, but I didn't really realise it because I used to look at my mum and dad. I'll just speak about me quickly. And I love them to death, but they had their jobs, they had their marriage, they had their kids, and they're paying off a house. And my mum knitted, my dad worked in the garden, but they were just doing it. Even when I was little, I remember looking at them going, something isn't right here. Yeah. Something's not right. And, it might have been right for them, but something inside of me said it isn't right. And then for a really, really long time, I'm like, if you just follow the little niggling voice on the inside and your heart and do what feels good, but also realize that some people start out with one passion and they end up following that and then getting another one. So as your heart grows and changes, you follow it and you're literally doing, I'm not saying your life will be perfect all the time, but it'll bring light to your life. So you're doing what feels good and following that little voice and that feeling in your heart. And shit just happens. Sorry, it just opens up. Sorry, children. You know, it just opens up and here you are, you know, and I think it's just, it's good to share that because we need to be able to follow our passions, you know, whether or not it ends up a career or whatnot. It's what stops us from getting depression. It's what controls anxiety. It's what brings light to a very dark world at times. Even if it's the light in your universe, you light the light in you, it lights the light in other people, and it spreads. And, you know, that can only be a good thing in life.
No, I totally agree. I mean, you know, following your heart and following your passion and leading with your heart, I think it opens up opportunities and it gives you a light, like you said. It brings a light about you, and that light it's you know, it's kind of like a virus. Positivity and good feelings and this inner light about people, it is like a virus and it spreads, and you know, it can help other people. And you know, one thing I learned after the fire is that life is really, really short, and none of it's guaranteed, none of it's promised, and it's too short to not do what you love. And if you know, I know that we all have different circumstances, and you know, sometimes we have to go to work to make a living and to pay the bills and whatever. But if you know, I think that, you know, when we have the opportunity to lead with our heart and have the opportunity to do work that we love, it fills us inside. And I don't know, it makes me feel like I have purpose and meaning.
And that's the most important thing, I think, in life is feeling like you've got purpose and meaning. You know, we have our ups and downs in life, but I don't think it's supposed to be, you know, all bad. But I might, leave that for now. So what are the projects? So do you want to start with the video and we can show everyone this really cool video, and you can talk, do you want to talk a little bit about beforehand about what it is, and then I'll pray that it loads?
Yeah. So the video is one of the things that I did in school. So one of the big lessons that I learned in school before I took this class, it was called time-based media. I thought I had to tell stories, but in one single image. And so when I had to take this class called time-based media, it was like this explosion went off in my head of like, whoa, wait, I can use multiple images and video and sound. What is happening here? And I just fell in love with the art of time-based media. And so when I was in Philadelphia, I was working with, you know, my partner is a circus artist, and we were doing this project called Circus Trash Monster. And we were working with the kids in the neighborhood, and we were cleaning up the neighborhood, and we were teaching kids circus arts. And I was photographing the whole process because I was also in school and I needed to do all of these assignments. But it was this incredibly beautiful project, and it just had so much purpose and so much meaning. And I felt very fortunate to be able to document this process. And the kids that were involved, they were so inspiring because just their light and their energy and just the way that they, you know, took their neighborhood back and took something that was dark and made it light. It was so inspiring. So what I did is I did video and I did still images and tried to tell the story of Circus Trash Monster in like a 5-minute segment. And I did it for one of my classes, but it's one of my favorite pieces of work that I've created.
And I can't wait to watch. We're going to share that with everybody now. So are you ready? Yeah, we're hoping it loads. And then I'll put this in here, and then as long as it loads, then I'll take us out.
Okay.
So, but actually, I'll just take myself out. But you should still be able to hear me. Can you still hear me?
Yep.
Sweet. And there we go.
My name is Regina Armenta. I learned how to stilt walk about 10 years ago. I went to a women's festival and they had a workshop on stilt walking. And it took me about 3 days to get up and be able to actually walk on stilts. I started performing about 10 years ago as a stilt walker. And that just snowballed into trying and sort of becoming a jack of all trades. Not really mastering anything, but being able to teach beginners and perform neighborhood or community circus shows. When I moved to Philadelphia, I moved into a neighborhood called Kensington. I had never seen that much litter on the street. I literally walked down the street. If it was at all breezy, you would easily get your legs wrapped in litter. I walked my dog around a hospital called the Temple Episcopal Hospital, and I noticed a lot of syringes. So I bought a sharps container. I literally picked up 60 needles in a 2-day walk. Felt like there was a need to connect with my community. I needed to understand what was going on, what had already been done, what needed to be done. I would call that a needs assessment. So I went seeking out my neighborhood association. And what I found was that in a very small triangle, which was Lehigh, Kensington, and Front Street, there were 4 different neighborhood associations around this triangle, but none of them wanted to include this triangle of about 5 blocks. The first thing I wanted to do was pick up some of the trash and see if I could gather some of the community to get involved. You know, the trash isn't going away. And how do I relate to the trash as a circus artist? And I thought, well, we probably could have fun picking up trash and make the trash pickup something that brings us together as a community. Not necessarily to end it, but to just create a proprietorship in our neighborhood, in our home. I brought circus to the neighborhood simply by going out into the front part of our house, stilting up and stilting around the neighborhood, picking up trash. Eventually the children did ask, like, what are you doing? I asked them, I'm stilt walking. Would you like to learn how to stilt walk? And so it was very improv. We didn't have like a class time or a schedule. I would just see a kid out and I would say, do you want to learn how to stilt walk? And they would say yes. And so I would drag out my scaffolding and my board for them to sit on, and I would take out a couple wrestling mats and I would put a tarp under the wrestling mats. We typically set up on the Temple Episcopal Hospital sidewalks because there was a wrought iron fence that they could hold themselves up with. And I taught them how to fall, and then I stilted them up and put them up against the fence and taught them how to walk. Eventually I taught them how to spot each other. We practiced spotting, we practiced walking, and we practiced falling. You're really in your most vulnerable and raw state of mind when you are doing something that you've never done before, that evokes a little bit of fear and excitement. You just get to a more authentic place. I believe that circus arts can do a lot of different things for people. Stilt walking, anything that you do physically to grow a different part of yourself. For example, stilt walking can grow confidence. Growing confidence can be translated to other parts of your life. I didn't plan it, honestly, it just came to me. They came to my door, they wanted to learn, and as a life teacher, a lifer teacher, I love to teach, I love to share my knowledge. So whoever wants to learn and is willing to take classes, I will teach. It just happens to be kids that want to learn in the Kensington Triangle.
I love that story so much. And you have to tell us a little bit about how it's done. But if anyone wants to hear more of Regina's story, her story's further down the page. Anyway, I'll let Kathy speak now. That's beautiful. The way you captured all of it and the actual energy behind it. Like I was saying when I first seen your photography work, the energy, I felt the energy come from the pictures. I felt the love and I felt the compassion, and whatever the energy was supposed to be, I could feel all that. And that's a talent, to be able to capture that and give that back to the viewer. And, and you can do it in a video too, but even in a still image, I find it absolutely mind-blowing.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, it's, I try to create or capture the emotional connection. And, when I'm photographing a person, I try to connect with them emotionally, and I try to capture like their energy and their emotion in the images so they can express that and share that with the viewer. Yeah, it's something that I try to do.
And you do it very, very well.
Thank you.
So we'll show another one. I'll turn my camera off. I'm trying to learn how to be a bit more fluent with this, but so Circus Trash Monsters is where we were. So we've got a few images here that are fantastic. Hopefully this is the right one, and I'll try and get myself out of here. It's not. Oh, sorry, guys. There we go. Myself's out.
Okay.
That one. Is that the right one?
Yes, this is, well, these are circus artists. Yeah. So I love working with circus artists because they're really incredible people, and the talent that they have is just amazing. And you can feel their passion and their dedication to the art and to connecting with people. And I feel very fortunate to have been able to work with so many different circus artists. And it's also, really exciting because I love working with angles, and circus artists help, create or help you get the opportunity to work with different angles because they're doing things that are unusual. For example, like stilt walkers.
Yeah.
They're so tall and so high up in the air, you can't do a normal, face straight shot with a stilt walker. And I love to just try to capture their height. And then with the aerial artists, I try to capture the sense of flying because, when you're sitting and watching an aerial performance, you can be mesmerized by, these amazing, talented people flying through the air. And I try to capture that when I'm photographing them. Like the picture in the center, is a lyra artist, and I just tried to capture that moment where it just feels like she's flying.
She looks, freedom. That's what I'm getting. She seems free.
Yeah.
And
yeah.
Yeah. I love them. So then we'll show this one. I'll try and I'm working it out.
The Circus Trash Monster.
That was I apologize, everybody.
Yeah. So what I try to do, so it's really difficult for me to pick out one image or even two images because I have, such a large body of work, and I have so many favorites. And so I created these photo merge images to try to bring them in there so I could share them. And this one is her name was Jenya, and she was really nervous at first about getting on stilts, and she went through this emotional process of getting the courage to get up on these stilts. And these challenges that she overcame in order to do it were just amazing to watch. The strength of this young girl just bring her up and literally raise her up. It was an amazing process. And so one of the things that I love about this picture is she had this moment where she had conquered these stilts. She was on stilts and she felt strong and she felt powerful. And she just had this moment where she just raised her arms up as, I did it. I am strong. And it was just one of the most beautiful moments. And I felt really fortunate to be able to capture that.
Yeah, you would. It's fantastic because, as I said, you can really get in there, even with your still images. I can anyway, and I'm sure everybody else can, and feel the emotion of what's going on behind there. And I'm sure when she got up on the stilt, as you pretty much said, she didn't just physically get taller. She emotionally went up. Yes, so she healed herself. Would you say?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and her journey wasn't it was a process. It took months, and she just kept coming back, day after day, week after week, because she was not giving up. And just seeing that kind of strength, it was so inspiring. And then the day that she made it up on those stilts and just conquered this challenge, and you could see how powerful she felt inside herself. You could see she was so inspiring. She was just absolutely inspiring.
It's amazing. I love it. Anyway, I'll take that away. I just can't see it all. I feel like I'm multitasking, so I hope everyone is happy to bear with me. I think this is the next one. Oh no, did I just? Sorry, everybody. I will work on my skills of doing this. There we go.
Yeah, I guess the photo merge doesn't work as good on this platform, but that's okay.
It does not.
It's good to know. This was just a compilation of photographs that I did of portraits. And when I do portraiture work, I really try to focus on capturing the emotion of the person that I'm photographing, because when I was in that class with the professor that I mentioned, he was saying, and he really challenged me. He was saying that what's going to set you apart from taking pictures of people? What makes you an artist over to do this work? And so what I tried to focus on really is capturing the emotion inside the person and capturing that moment that they're feeling as the image is being taken, and freezing that moment in time, and then capture or helping express that emotion to the viewer. So having the emotional connection with the subject, and then bringing out whatever it is that they're feeling at that moment, and then sharing that with the viewer. So
I think it's fantastic. And another one that you've done here of some beautiful little puppy dogs. Again. Yes, there we go. Again, emotion again.
Yeah, so I mean, I love taking pictures of animals and dogs, and so the one on the lower right and the upper right was my dog Mikey, and he and I we were together for many, many years, and he was the best model I'd ever worked with. I would have photo shoots, and he became the perfect photo bomb. Like, I did this whole series, a You Are Not Alone project, which we'll talk about soon.
Yeah.
And it became this ongoing joke during the photo shoots that Mikey would come in and photo bomb the perfect shot. And he always did, but he also, like, his photo bombs brought the image to another level, because he was such a great model. He would walk up and he would just be super casual. And then the second that he saw that I had the camera in my hand, he would like snap into a pose and give the camera a look. And he was just amazing. He loved the camera. He would be, eating something, and I'd pick up the camera and he would just snap into the pose and give the perfect look at the perfect time. It was funny because I had this one class where it was a different type of a portraiture class, and we were supposed to be doing mostly people. And I actually convinced my professor to let me do a whole series on Mikey because of how many humanistic traits he had and how interesting of a subject he had. So I have an entire series of Mikey pictures. But I love taking pictures of him. He and I had such a great journey together. He passed away a couple of years ago, and I am so grateful for my photography and for going on the journey with him through photography, because I have a life documented that he and I shared together, and I get to look back at these images of him all the time, and it just makes my heart, it takes pain out of my heart and brings healing and joy. And I'm really grateful to my passion for giving me the tool and giving me the opportunity to do that. I totally digressed, but it's Mikey Pictures. So anybody who knows me knows that there's going to be a Mikey story at some point in a conversation.
And that's okay to digress, because this.
Oh, there you are. I lost you for a second. Sorry.
Yeah, I was trying to put myself in the stream, and I was saying it's all about you and your passion, so you can digress all you like. People are here to get to know you and what you love, so it's perfect. And the last image we have, I believe, it's from the You're Not Alone project, which is actually the first the first photos I've seen of your artwork was this project. And again, that's the one I was speaking to earlier. I got on there after I did Regina's interview, actually, and I was scrolling through, and I was there for so long and just looking into these images. And I would encourage everyone to go over there and check it out. I know Circus Trash Monster was your favorite project, and I think that's a fantastic one too, because you turned the amount of good that you guys did with that was, I don't think you could put words to describe the amount of good that was done there, but this is pretty amazing. So did you want to talk a little bit about the project first, or do you want me to show the photos at the same time?
No, I'll talk about the project first. So the You Are Not Alone project, it started because it was during a time where a lot of young gay people were committing suicide. There was a significant amount of bullying happening, and just just for clarification, I grew up in a time where I identified as gay, so that's why I refer to myself and the project as gay. A lot of people identify differently, and I just wanted to put clarification on that. So a lot of kids were killing themselves because they felt alone and they didn't feel like they had any support, and they were being bullied. And during that time, I felt helpless because, I had grown up in a different time where, I went through my own struggles and my own challenges, growing up gay in the South. And when I saw what was happening, I wanted to do something. I felt so helpless and I wanted to do something. And so I started working with a group of really incredible people in Philadelphia. And it was a group of my friends. And I was like, look, let's start taking pictures, because what's happening is that, what if these kids could see themselves? What if they could see images of people who they could identify with, and maybe they wouldn't feel so alone? And so that's how it all started. And we would just start doing photo shoots, and we had so much fun. And, it was amazing because I got to work with an incredibly diverse group of folks, and we were all very passionate about doing this work together and trying to explore diversity of the LGBTQ community. And we were just exploring this and trying to just connect with people and to help people feel like they weren't all alone. And as we were going through this, there were moments where I was like, am I really reaching people? Are people really, is this making a difference? And I received an email one day from somebody who really just brought it all together for me. It was an email from a woman who said that she was having a really hard time, and she was feeling completely alone, and she was about to commit suicide. And she had decided to go on social media for whatever reason in this moment, and she came across the You Are Not Alone project. And she said she just started looking at the pictures, and one after another, and she started seeing people who, she could identify with. And she said, she felt like she wasn't actually alone in that moment. And she just, she changed her mind. And I actually got to meet her. And it just made me, it was a moment that I was really grateful that I could be a part of something that made a difference in somebody's life in such a profound way. And it was also, I was really appreciative and grateful for all of the amazing people that I was able to work with, and that we came together and that we were able to create such a beautiful, diverse body of work that represented represented the LGBTQ community. But as I say that, there's so many people, there's so much more representation and so many more projects that other people are doing in the community that are just phenomenal. And that's one dog. So
he's a green. It's awesome. Sorry, I don't actually know the sex of the dog. That is, as you said, profound change. Like, I'm betting that even if that's only one thing that a bit of good that came from it, which it wouldn't be, but even if that's it, that would be enough to make all of that work worthwhile, I guess. And another way how following your heart in other ways can also help. You're passing on the light, literally relighting her candle for life.
Yeah.
Relighting her, igniting her again so she can keep going forward. Like pouring fresh oxygen into her lungs, and I think that's an amazing thing.
Yeah, no, I agree. And, another really beautiful thing that happened in the process is that working with the group that I worked with, we worked together so much. We built this trust with each other.
Yeah.
And the folks that I worked with who, were in the images, they were able to explore their own vulnerability during the photo shoots because they felt safe enough in the images or in the shoots to open themselves up that way and to be vulnerable, emotionally. And I felt like that trust and vulnerability, you could also feel that through the images.
Yes, which I'm going to show some now, and I'll just take my me out. And you, just so we can get a bit closer. There we go. I'm sure everyone can see what I'm talking. Like you could before, but the energy in these, the feelings behind these are just.
Yeah, and another thing that I also really tried to focus on is strength. The folks that I was working with, they were incredibly strong human beings, like emotionally strong, passionately strong. And I wanted to convey that strength because I also felt like, if somebody, the point of this is for trying to help people not feel alone. And if they could connect with people who were strong and they could see that strength, I was hoping that would help, maybe help lift them up as well and help them find their inner strength. So that's why in a lot of these images, you see this strong, just energy coming through, some of the images and some of the people in the shots.
Definitely. There is, I personally, I'm getting from all of these ones, I'm getting strength, I'm getting love, I'm getting connection, I'm getting self-confidence, even like a healthy self-confidence. Connection and love and passion. Yeah. Exactly what I can see in all of them. I know very much. So what have I done here? Sorry, Kathy. Right, now I've got it. So if anyone would like to have a more of a look or contact Kathy or look more at her work afterwards, I will share all of the web pages, Instagram page, Facebook pages, all the little links and stuff. Go over there and check her out because the work's definitely worthwhile. And if you want to connect with her, you can do it through there as well. We did have one person made a comment. I can't see who it is. It says each camera has its own personality. Losing one is like losing a friend.
I agree 100%. It really is. And it's really hard to describe, but yeah, they really do. They have their own personality, and for mine, they literally became an extension of my physical arm, but also like looking through the viewfinder and looking through the lens, it became an extension of how I see the world. So yeah, I agree 100%.
And I think that's the cool thing as well. Like in your pre-interview, we discussed this, and it's one thing I've always found cool is that a photographer, especially a talented one, can take someone like a story, not such great self-confidence, and just go there, and the photographer's like, but what if you could see what I could see?
Mm-hmm.
Would that change anything then? Oh no, I highly doubt it, blah, blah, blah. Anyway, they go ahead, take a photo and show this picture. And to me, because it was about me, I looked completely different. I see myself in a completely different way. I no longer see myself, because I think when our mindset is so great, we view ourselves through those pained eyes, if that makes sense. Mm-hmm. And you sort of lose the beautiful side. I guess I couldn't see that anymore. And then even though I was still carrying a bit of that energy, obviously, this person took a photo, showed that photo, and all that. I couldn't see that though. All I could see is what they seen and what they were choosing to capture and what they wanted to put forth in that photo. And I think that's incredible.
Yeah, no, I completely agree with you. I think that, I think sometimes we can be our worst critics, and we can be very hard on ourselves and create this negative energy or image of our self-image, of create this negative self-image. And sometimes if we get the opportunity to see ourselves the way others see us, we can see the beauty and the light that they see. It just helps us see that in ourselves, and we can grow and we can build our confidence.
Yeah,
photography can definitely do that for
and
sure.
It's the only way I feel to share your perspective. So everyone that looks at something has their own perspective. Like we can look at the same cup, but we'll all have a different perspective on that cup, so to speak. And to be able to share what, like you're giving them your eyes, going, see, can you see it?
Mm-hmm.
I think
yeah, I mean, that's one of the beautiful things about art is it's different. It means something different to everybody. And we all look at, we can look at the same image and we're going to see two totally different things because we're looking at it through our eyes, through our heart. And that's what's amazing about it is that, when I put an image out there, I am telling a story that I think I'm telling. But what's exciting is when I get feedback with people telling me what story they're getting. I think it's incredible. One of the things, it's interesting. I don't name my photographs. I've never done it. I've had to do it when I've done some gallery exhibitions where I was forced to, put names on stuff, but I really don't like doing it because I felt like if I name it, then I'm already creating an idea in somebody's mind of what that's supposed to be. But if I don't name it, then the viewer can create their own thoughts and feelings about it and create their own story about the image.
That makes sense. So do you think maybe you can get both? Like you can share your perspective, the way you see things, but their perspective of it then they can get, like you're sharing your thing and then they can get a bit of that, but also a bit of their own ideas in there.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. That's the great thing about art. It's, everybody interprets it differently. Everybody feels art differently. And that's what makes it so beautiful and so important in this world is that, art is just such a strong and amazing part of our lives. And, especially during difficult times, I think that art helps us through the difficult times because it helps, light our hearts up and it helps us go into places of light as opposed to, places of darkness. It's just so important. And I definitely don't think I'm doing it the justice that it deserves right now. But in the darkest times, I feel like light can get rid of the dark clouds and
Yeah,
bring the light in.
it brings more light. And because the only, like, when we are in difficult situations, for instance, this is my philosophy or belief. I shouldn't use big words because I'm not always sure of the meanings of them. My belief is that when you're trying to deal with something that's dark, because you can't just, the whole world can't ignore negative situations and hope to God they'll go away, because it's never going to happen. You need to shine light on that. But unfortunately, in shining light on it, you've also got to kind of get down in there with it. And when that happens, it's like if everyone did that, everything would go dark. So there still has to be some light, like art, like you're saying, to what we'll call a light, that we can turn to while we're going through those times and trying to bring about change, and feel some good to, like, fuel us back up full of light, so to speak, and then pump it back into what we're doing. There's got to be space holders, I like to call them. Some people are here to hold space in hard times and hold the light and share love and share passion. And, you know, and some people are like the little warriors that get down and get dirty and get the job done and, you know,
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. And, you know, another thing that I feel like art and, you know, photography in particular can do is it can also inspire people to action. You know, in dark and difficult times, you know, art, you know, say you've got a photographer out in this really hard time, they can capture this image, and that image can inspire others and bring light into other people to stand up and take action. You know,
Oh,
so, you know, there's just so many aspects of what art, the impact that art has on people, because you never know what's going to make a difference in somebody's life. You
yeah,
never know what's going to light that spark, light that fire.
yeah. And I definitely know that to be true, because my daughter studied art in year 10 and year 9. I mean, sorry, photography. And there was one picture that I won't go into too much detail about what happened. And I hope I remember the name of this picture probably, because it is named. That's quite famous. Not her picture, but one that they were studying. That brought a whole heap of change for her. And I know it did a whole heap of other people too. And I think it's called The Afghan Girl. The little Afghan girl, with big green eyes. And, you know, if that photo hasn't inspired change and awareness, and I know little about it, I don't know what has, because it really put a fire under my 17-year-old, that's for sure.
Yeah, you just, you never know what you're going to connect with, and you know, having more opportunities to connect with art, you just never know what it is that's going to inspire you and to light your fire and to light your passion. You just never know, and that's why art is so important, and that's why we need it so much in the world, because, you know, we need people to have opportunities to find their passions.
That's exactly right. Really, really light. Is there anything else you wanted to share that I might have missed?
No, I think that we had a wonderful conversation, and I just appreciate the opportunity to talk about photography, because I love photography so much. And if you're ever in Tucson, come see us over at the Center for Creative Photography once we can actually, you know, be around each other again, because
We
it's a
definitely
really beautiful place, and there's a remarkable and amazing work happening there.
I think we definitely will, because I've never been overseas myself, and I've never really wanted to. I don't know why. I just, you know, I'm scared of flying for one, but I can overcome that. But a friend of mine's been talking a little bit, and I have a feeling that in the future, at some point, it might be a few years from now, that we will end up over there doing stuff. And I know we will definitely meet. I will see Arizona. I will meet you and Regina and Jess and
We would love that.
everybody else, along with my little friend. She'll be coming too. She's probably watching. So is there any advice you'd give to anyone, whether they're a photographer or looking for their passion, or is there anything you'd like, a message or whatever? Say whatever you like.
Yeah, I guess my biggest message would be, you know, listen to your heart and follow your passion. You never know where it's going to lead you, and you let your heart lead you. Listen to it and see where it takes you. You just never know. And for photographers in particular, take as many pictures as you possibly can of everything you see in the world, don't limit yourself. Just go out and take pictures and have fun and find connections that you never knew existed and see the world in, different angles, and tell your story. Tell all the stories you can. Tell your story, tell the story of the person next to you, because we need more connection in the world, and photography is a wonderful way to create human connection.
And the beauty of it is it's not analog anymore. So you don't have your mum yelling, "What is all that film? I've got to get it developed."
Exactly. Exactly. The digital world has created a whole new realm and whole new opportunity for photography. And I think we're just at the beginning of this digital world, and I cannot wait to see where digital photography is in 10, 20, 30, 40 years. I think it's beautiful and amazing, and I love that people take so many pictures. It's awesome.
So exciting. Thank you so very, very much, Kathy, for joining us this evening and today, this afternoon. See, I'll talk to you more time, my son.
There we go.
Thank you so much for everyone else that has been tuned in to hear Kathy's story. I will definitely get some links up by tonight so you can all go over and check her out and say hello and share the love. Enjoy everyone's journey. Love, light, and blessings, Kathy. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
It was a pleasure to have you.
It was a pleasure talking with you, and thanks for giving me a chance to talk about photography. It's what I love to talk about.
It was wonderful. We both got to do what we love. Have a great day. See you, everyone. Bye.